Oh, welcome to the latest Trainers Talks. My name is Donovan. We're here today with Eric Franco, my man Freddie E. And so, what we were going to do today is Freddie and Eric have been working here in Yountville Fit. Freddie's been here from the start, really crushing it. And Eric has been starting with us very recently. He's a physical therapist, and we've been wanting to have a physical therapy part to our company for a while. And when I met Eric, it was kind of, I was like, yeah, this is the one. So, Eric, I want to thank you for joining today.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Um, so, tell me what got you started with physical therapy, and why did you decide to work with us?
I mean, I've been physical therapy. I've been doing it for now about 10 years,
Yeah,
and so the main thing for me that got me into physical therapy was actually playing sports. So I played college soccer at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and in my third year, I got injured. I got two-footed in the box, and I broke my hand. So I actually went to hand therapy, and she was the one that got me back to be able to play back my senior year in college. And I for sure didn't want to do hand therapy. That was just like too tedious of work, and it wasn't really my kind of style. But it did kind of like open my eyes to the world of physical therapy, and from then on, it just was kind of the right direction for me.
yeah, totally. And did what made you decide to kind of, we met that one time you reached out. What got you into like connecting with us?
Well, like I had heard great things about the company, and so part of me was also like really interested in bringing something into Yountville because Yountville didn't have really access to physical therapy, and I had lived in Yountville for about 8 years
Yep.
previously, and so it felt like the right spot for me. And when I came in and you kind of showed me the venue, I was like, this is great. This is perfect. This is exactly what I want. The right opening space. Just the areas to kind of go in different sections, whether it's like weightlifting and strengthening or just having a room to just do the treatments. It was perfect.
Yeah. Freddie, I'm gonna bring you in on the next one. We interviewed. I remember we interviewed about 3 or 4 months before Yountville Fit opened in 24 October of 24. Met at the station.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but tell me a little bit more. What got you? I know you did some powerlifting stuff, but what kind of got you into personal training and kind of getting into this world?
So what kind of got me into that with doing my own competitions and lifting heavy weights, playing sports in school and all that was I was excited about those sports and I started bringing friends in too. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, you should try this with me. Come to this gym with me on the weekend. We'll go, lift some heavy stuff. We'll go do this. And just seeing the kind of like joy it brought to people's faces, learning the new stuff and kind of realizing they could, be stronger than they thought, just an extra level of confidence and all that they got with it. It kind of led me down that path and then just working with more people, and then going from athletes to general pop. And it was just good.
yeah. When Eric, when people kind of come and work with you, what are some of the most common things you see? And you know, I have kind of a two-part question. So, what is the most common things you see, and when do you think it's a good time for somebody to go to a physical therapist?
So right now, I commonly see a lot of like shoulder, low back kind of situations, and sometimes knees. But those would probably be my top three that I see quite often. Usually, what I recommend for people that are doing or need physical therapy is usually if they've been having like sharp pain or discomfort for a longer period of time than after like a workout scenario, right? Like
Yeah,
we've all heard of DOMS and the delayed onset of muscle soreness, but I think that's one of the keys for us is that if it goes longer than a week or
yeah,
you're now going 2 weeks and you're still having this sharp pain when you're not doing anything, that probably means it's time to come see me.
yeah, totally. Freddie, what do you consider when somebody needs to? When do you advise if you see a client or a member and they start to talk about something they got going on? How can you suggest for them that this is just soreness versus an injury?
So first off, I go and see if they have had any previous injuries or any kind of trauma to that area first. And then once we start going through a movement assessment and kind of seeing how they do with certain exercises, if it does become more of like a ouch and wincing, then it's like, okay, maybe we should stop, pull back a little bit, get this checked out first by somebody like Eric to kind of let us know exactly what's going on before we continue.
Cool. And I know you guys have shared a couple of clients together. Eric, tell me how that's worked so far and what's kind of been interesting. Because if you think about it in the past, you were working were you working mainly in physical therapy offices, or were you in spaces like this where it has personal trainers and things like that?
I was mainly working in a physical therapy office. I
Yeah.
wasn't working in a gymnasium perspective or kind of area. So for me, actually, it's been great because being able to talk to Fred about like what he's been doing with his patients prior, and then also like where he wants to go because they already had like their goals made. And it's like, well, that makes my life a lot easier. I don't have to create these goals or anything. I'm just trying to help shift it to get back into doing that stuff. It helps me kind of mainstream my area a little bit more. So it allows me to have the opportunity to just focus on what is actually causing them to have these aches or pains,
Yep.
getting them back online, and then giving some suggestions really to Fred and saying, hey, like, look, like this is what I'm seeing. Maybe focus on a couple of these areas and then see if you can get back to doing what you guys were doing previously.
Totally. Fred, how about you? How's it worked so far working with Eric?
Working with Eric's been really good in just building the overall longevity and functionality of somebody and helping them get to their goals because, as personal trainers, we do have to stay in our scope of work too.
Mm-hmm.
So having somebody with a professional background and licensing too just really adds that little bit of extra that, the clients really like once they start saying like, hey, my shoulder's better now. Now we can continue strengthening and working towards my pull-ups and stuff. And so that kind of just adds to that good feeling of helping them get to where they want to be.
Totally. One of the things we did a pilot program in 2019 with the Cancer Center in St. Helena, where it gave patients an opportunity to kind of connect in a space at our space in Calistoga Fit to get them out of the hospital where they were doing some of their rehab out of the hospital, kind of to be around normal people and not feel like, because settings really matter, how people kind of accomplish goals. And it was one of the things I kind of started to kind of have this viewpoint of, is sometimes nice to give clients and patients a longer runway visually for them to see in an environment. So, because sometimes if you're just in a hospital setting or if you're in a setting that just works with athletes, you see only one spectrum of where people are from a wellness standpoint. And being able to have it all in one house where you can see somebody who's has a knee replacement is next to somebody who's sprinting on the treadmill, but then you can see somebody else who's had a knee replacement 3 years ago doing something active in the class, and you can kind of be able to point, say, you can get there. Is there things that, Eric, people can do maintenance-wise that you think is valuable in terms of stretching, foam rolling, strengthening, that are common spots of injury that they should be thinking about when they're healthy?
I mean, as we get older, the prep work and the recovery work becomes much more important than the actual main component of the work. So I think it's actually really a key to be doing your mobility work, whether you're doing your foam work or you're doing your stretching, you're doing your different types of mobility work, whether it's yoga, Pilates, all those types of things to kind of help you prep for what you're going to be doing, especially if you're going to be lifting heavy. I think that's key, but also then doing your stuff that you need to do afterwards. The recovery part, the self-care actions are really key for you to continue to be successful in the gymnasium.
Yeah. Fred, what are certain like little homework things you have clients do or things you focus on that sometimes people might think, oh, lifting and working out is all about just picking up weights and throwing them around? What are some of the pre-work or the post-work that you have clients do?
Some of the homework kind of stuff like that I give to clients a lot is, in this community in general, people walk a lot and they ride their bikes a lot. So I'm always reminding people, stretch their calves out, roll their shins, stuff like that, because then it gets bound up and starts affecting their other leg movements. And also, I like warming up my shoulders for every warm up too, even leg days and stuff. So I make sure they get that done too, even before their squats and deadlifts.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I kind of resonate with a lot of that, and it's funny. What has changed for us, Fred? I'll start with you. What has changed with how you train yourself as you got older? Like, if you compare it to how you train when you're in 20s, as you compare to you now, what are things that you do different for your own training?
Touching back on what Eric said, where that warm up and post workout becomes a little bit more important than the lifting. I remember, in my early 20s when I was doing competitions a lot. It's like I could walk in cold on a lunch break and deadlift 600 pounds. Now it's like if I don't have my 30-minute warm up before lifting two, I'm feeling it for a couple of days. So, you definitely got to loop things up, grease the groove, get stuff going again before you lift heavy now. And
Yeah, totally. How about you, Eric? What has shifted for you in terms of how you?
100%. Like that's for sure has shifted for me. But also just like what I eat. Like when I was in my 20s, I was eating whatever I wanted to, and like I was running so much, it didn't really matter to me at that point in time. Now, like I have to watch a little bit more what I'm eating, being a little bit more wise and picking correctly.
Yeah.
But as well, like I need that 20 to 30 minute warm up before I start trying to do anything that's too explosive or aggressive. Otherwise, I'm going to be feeling it for the next few days, and that's just, it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, I've jokingly said with clients, as you get older, your warm up gets longer, and by the time you get to 90, your whole workout is your warm up. So I think it's definitely kind of the pivot for there. Do you guys, we're firing back. I'm kind of firing the questions. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything like that you're kind of interested in learning or understanding?
Yeah, so I know you got a big background in hospitality as well too. What was kind of the thing that made you want to blend the two?
I think I just saw it as I saw it as an opportunity in a space where I could be different. But I think the big piece was that um, this is kind of go into a side 1 minute kind of thing, but I saw it as an opportunity where the work that we do, we're one of the few kind of things where usually people now with Apple Watches has changed, but they don't have their phones with them. We're able to have conversations with our clients. And oftentimes, most things that are happening in our lives, people say, no, you can't do it. And oftentimes we're showing them ways of how they can do it. And being that cheerleader and being that way, I saw that hospitality really connected with that ethos. And so I felt that there was a way to kind of connect that and make it where you could have a positive space. If a client says they want to lose, 30 pounds, as long as it's kind of in a healthy zone for them, I'm saying, yes, but it requires this, this, and this. And I'm willing to go on a journey with you on that. But I don't say no. I just say, this is what it takes. And so I think hospitality is all about trying to say ways. The best hospitality is ways to say yes. How can you say yes? And so you kind of notice that if you watch me closely, I rarely say no unless it's going to really disrupt the environment for everybody else.
When we first met and we were sitting out here in the lobby, you were kind of talking about how you had a lot of different experiences, but you always like to kind of like push yourself and get out of maybe your comfort zones. Now that you've been doing this for so long, what's your new kind of adventure or want to push into the next, like out of your comfort zone area?
So that's a very good question. So, the thing that I'm kind of focused on right now is, and challenging myself, is trying to grow the medical side of things. We did a partnership with 100 Health late last year where you take blood work and you can do analysis on the blood work, and it's very spelled out in a great way. It shows you what supplements you should use. And I've learned, I knew stuff about supplements, but I've learned so much about supplements that's kind of pushed me to another level of understanding, and why does this supplement help this, and so on and so on. And then bringing you on was kind of key to that next phase of like, how do we build out that medical side? Because I wanted to be able to send my clients or people who work with us to somebody I trusted and I felt would be able to have that sense of hospitality and connecting with the client and providing them real results. And it kind of came through that hospitality. I just don't want to say no. And there's been so many times in my 20-year career where somebody would come to me with a medical thing, something that happened with their shoulder when they were skiing, and I don't have an MRI machine, and they were waiting to get booked and things like that. And I'm like, yeah. So as it kind of finally, as the stages grew, as things grew, I'm like, this is the medical side, something I want to kind of explore and try to get better at, and try to bring in more resources for the team, but also the communities we work with. So, um, let me see. We go. I'm gonna do one more question. If you could do, what's your top three exercises that you find yourself doing every week?
Ooh, top three exercises that I find myself doing every week. Deadlifts,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of heavy rotation, and a single leg movement. Those are my favorite.
Cool.
Some type of squat, so deadlift, maybe a back squat, for sure, like a single leg RDL, and usually some type of core aspect, whether it's a plank or a dead bug that's going to create like some control for the trunk.
Oh, cool. And last question, Eric. When somebody comes to work with you, what does like that? You talked about the assessment when we first met. You talked about the assessment. Tell me what you're trying to figure out when you do an assessment with the client. What does that look like? What can they expect if they come and meet you for an assessment?
So usually when I do an assessment, a few things are usually what I'm trying to focus on. One, like, was there a moment when they noticed that the injury occurred? Was there a certain type of action? Because that usually will help me kind of get a better idea. Also, like, where are they having their pain? Because a lot of times patients will say, "Hey, my pain's here," and that's not always means that's what the injury is,
Yep.
because the body will refer pain in different directions. So it's kind of important to kind of get a good idea of on their body map of their pain where they're having it, because they'll start talking about, I got some here, I got some there, and sometimes it could be coming from a completely different like source that they didn't even realize.
Yeah.
And then the main thing is also really what they want. Like, what is their goal for their quality of life of trying to come back to? Because that's really what I want to do, is more about not trying to stop them from doing their activities. I want to try to help give them a little bit of guidance, but at the same time, I want to know where they want to go in the long run. And if they actually have goals, then we can kind of slowly push them towards those goals. And I think once you get that kind of idea, then you can really kind of break things down. And usually then I'll kind of take more of a full assessment of their body, how they're moving, how's their balance, how's their strength. A lot of times they're kind of confused to me when I ask them like, oh, can you do a single leg balance? And they're like, well, I'm here for my neck or my shoulder. I'm like, yeah, everything matters, because like, are you compensating in a weird way? Are you doing certain things that's causing you those situations? And I think that's kind of a key, that you're going more for a whole body approach versus just specifically for the injury.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's huge. What about you, Fred? If somebody was coming to work with one of the trainers here at Yountville Fit, or in general, what is the things that you guys are focused on in that first session, that first meeting?
First session, people usually come and talk about balance issues and whatnot. So right when they say that, I look down at their feet, kind of see what kind of shoes they have on. So we'll go over balance assessments, and then just kind of how the limbs move on their own. So I'll have them do overhead movements, single arm overhead movements, single leg stuff, just to kind of see if there's any twisting or lean into one more side over the other, just so we can hammer in on those imbalances if there's no injuries right away.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me today for the Trainers Talk. And once again, Eric, how do they find you? If they can obviously reach out to here at Yountville Fit. Is there other ways to kind of connect? Do you have any socials or
I
anything
don't
like
have
that?
any socials right now. I'm still building on that. But they can find me at online at Eric at everydayexcellencept.com. So that's a great way to find me. They can send me emails, and then of course they can always contact me here.
Cool. Fred, tell me your social there.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Iron Bear Coaching.
Cool. All right. My name is Donovan. Have a nice day. All right. I just need you to hit that like button, subscribe, so you can get all the newest videos.